Whether you're thinking about quitting your job, starting a side hustle, or just curious about the realities of being your own boss, this podcast explores the possibilities of being unemployed for a living. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Unemployed for a Living podcast. I am Ken, and normally Corey would be sitting right over there, but today I have a special guest with me. It is, some of you may know her from the reselling space. If you are resellers following along with the show, I have Mary McQuain with me today. How you doing, Mary?
Good. How are you?
I am good. And Mary is also a co-host of another show on YouTube, Mike Metco Meetups. Well, our co-hosts, Corey and Mike, are both there gallivanting across the country to a big reseller meetup called the Plains to Profit Meetup. And that's actually organized by Corey from Grams of Pops Vintage. And so some of the best resellers from all over are going to that meetup. And Mary and I just got kind of left behind. And we thought, we might as well use our time wisely. And I'd have her on as a guest this week since Mike is out. But Mary has a great, interesting story. You're side hustler. How about, is that a word? Side hustler?
I would say that would work. Yes. I've been side hustling probably since before it was called side hustling.
Exactly. Yeah. We're going to jump into some of those things. But Mary, I'll give you a second here to introduce yourself to the folks.
Okay. I'm Mary, and I do want to thank you guys for having me on, and I hope Corey's having a great time, and I hope my teammate Mike's having a great time too. I know Corey and Alicia and Teresa have worked really hard on this. So
yes.
Yeah, I actually work a full-time W-2 job, so a job for somebody else, but I mean, I honestly don't remember the last time I only had one stream of income, going back, probably back to the late 80s even. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just kind of diving into some of this. So yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's well, I appreciate you being on with me. Gave me something to do, while everybody's else out having fun. Not that this isn't fun. This is the greatest fun. And Mary and I, we decided before the show that we are pretty much the same age. We grew up around the same area, and we're both huge rock and roll, like 80s hair band metal music fans. And so we thought, we're not going to talk about being unemployed for a living. We're just going to talk about our favorite concerts and shows, because it's kooky and it's such a small world. Just kind of talking a little bit there before, we determined that we probably at some point in life, 40 years ago, we probably crossed paths at a concert. Mm-hmm. We liked all that same sort of music and stuff. So that was fun to just kind of chit chat before we started to record about, some of those favorite shows and where we had seen shows. And Mary actually knows where the Newport Music Hall is, right, which is no longer around. But as you were saying, you are a great example for the show, because we do the show, The Unemployed for a Living, which was inspired by a comment that Corey had made, that he wants to make enough money to stay unemployed, meaning he doesn't want a quote unquote regular job or a 9-to-5, or I love the way that you described that, a W-2 job. Mm-hmm. I'm probably, is it all right if I steal that, Mary?
You sure can.
Okay. Because I like that description of a W-2. Now, being resellers, on different platforms, you may get like a 1099, mm-hmm. Income or a tax form, which would be similar to getting a W-2, except there's not all of the taxes and everything like that taken out of it, like your standard W-2.
Yes.
But you were saying there in your intro that you have done a lot of side hustles. So I guess back up. Yeah, were you're not technically unemployed for a living because you do have that W-2 job, but with all those side hustles, that's what this show is about, is having different sources of income, whether it be you need extra money to exist, or maybe you just need extra money because you like to take vacations, or maybe you like to go to a rock concert every now and then, and you want to buy. I was surprised. I was at a show here recently. This is a side point. I was at a show here recently. Back in the day, we were talking about concert shirts before, and I still have all of my old concert T-shirts. And back then, you would buy a T-shirt for $15, $20. Even sometimes it was like, $25 if it was a real big band at a show. But most of the time, they were 15, 20 bucks. We're at some shows here recently. Concert shirts are $35, $45, $50 for a T-shirt. Yeah. Ridiculous. But all of my shirts, I could resell all of my old shirts, and it'd probably be worth quite a bit. But that's another topic. But some of you may know Mary, like I said, from the reselling space, because you do reselling as a side hustle. But let's back way up from what you're currently doing now. How did you? What you said, you've pretty much always remember having a side hustle gig. So give us a little bit of that history of why you did all of the side hustles, maybe a touch on a couple of things that you did, and then we'll explore those a little deeper, and why you still side hustle when you have your W-2 job now.
Okay. Well, when I first wanted to explore side hustles, I was a 19-year-old single parent. And I definitely needed money. I had a full-time job, yes, but I needed money. So I had this great idea to start doing grocery delivery. Now, mind you, I didn't have a car, okay?
Okay, makes it a little more difficult.
We did not have the internet when I was 19. So yeah. I created flyers. I mean, I remember cutting pictures out of magazines of people. I remember there was one picture of somebody all frazzled when they got home, and then I cut out a picture. I don't even know how do I remember this. I cut out another picture of a mom just sitting there with her kids, and I'm not quite sure how I got the flyers even created, but I had my son on my hip and my flyers, and I went and distributed them throughout the neighborhood. That's the first side hustle I remember, grocery delivery, when clearly that's a thing now, but that was not a thing back then.
It is, yes.
Well, sadly, I did not get one call. And the other thing was how I wasn't actually going to charge them. I was a big couponer. And so I thought, well, whatever money I save in coupons, that's going to be the fee. So they actually, not only do I not have a car to drive it to them, they don't have to pay me.
Okay, so you were going to buy the groceries, you were going to charge them full price for whatever the shelf price was for the groceries, but if you had a 50-cent coupon or something like that for an item, that you were going to keep that amount.
Yes, because
that's actually a brilliant idea, especially for the time. I love that.
Well, yeah, and nobody called me, and it was fine. But yeah, it is funny though to think of these ideas that we had back then. That now, I mean, I get Kroger Boost delivery now, but they have a big truck. They bring it in, and it's refrigerated, and
it's commonplace
with their kid on their other hand.
Well, my parents often talk about that. When they were young, you had the milkman that came around, you had the bread man, the egg man, you had the ice man, because they had, they used to have ice boxes, true ice boxes, and all of those kind of the staples, the bread, the milk, the eggs, all of that stuff. You had a guy that came around every day, switched out your milk bottles, you'd place an order for loaves of bread, and all of that went away for all of these years, and now it is so commonplace that people just have all of their groceries, and you get on your phone and you just you put it in there, and which is a side hustle in itself, being the grocery delivery guy, whether it's like the DoorDash places, the Uber Eats, all of those different kinds of things, or even the stores themselves, the Walmarts and the Krogers and stuff like that. They offer that delivery, which is I don't know if are those actual employees of the stores, or are they contracted people?
Well, with Uber Eats and DoorDash, those they would be contracted people, but the Kroger Boost people are actually Kroger employees.
Kroger employees. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if Instacart brings it to you, those would be just individuals. But
Independents.
I
Okay.
was kind of getting Kroger Boost bringing me mine personally.
Yes.
So,
Well, you were revolutionary before revolution. Before revolution, is that right? I don't know if that's right, the way that I said that.
that's about
But yeah, for a young gal without a car to want to do a grocery delivery business, and I love that you cut stuff out of pictures out of a magazine, and you made your own flyer, and you took that door to door. One of the questions we get asked a lot here on the podcast is, how do I market things?
Mhm.
And you sat for a little bit and you thought, what do I need to, how do I get the word out? There wasn't the internet. There wasn't, any of that stuff. And it's just thinking about it.
Mhm.
What can I do? How can I get people to know that I want to deliver them their groceries? Even though it didn't work out for you, it was a brilliant, and I love the coupon savings idea. That in itself is revolutionary, I think. Anyway, I would have never thought of that. I would have just said, okay, it's going to cost you, $15 to deliver your groceries or what. So what would you have done though, Mary, if somebody said, sure, I'd love for you to get my groceries? How are you going to shop and get them to them? Were you just going to carry them?
I guess maybe I was going to ask my mom to drive me. Mom will probably watch this. Yeah, Mom, that was a great idea I had, wasn't it? That's all I can think of, unless maybe they just wanted a bag. And then what if they only wanted produce? You don't have coupons for produce. So then I'm just delivering all these produce for free.
Oh, this is true. That's true. See, now when you think it through, maybe not the greatest idea, but
right.
I guess you could have had some minimums, if it's, you had to make a minimum off coupons or something like that. But great idea. So after the dismal failure of the grocery delivery business, where did you go from there?
Well, just over time, I wanted to be able to raise my kids. Now, when it was just my son and me, he was in daycare all day. I worked a full-time job. But then once I wound up getting married, we had another child. I really did want to try to work around their schedules. And like my daughter never had to go to a daycare center just because we worked around those. But my husband at the time, he had a full-time job. So I needed to be able to get the kids off to school and get them, any mom is going to go through this, obviously.
Yes.
So I found jobs that I could work around their schedule. And again, without the internet, a lot of these jobs were actual W-2 jobs, but they would still be more like side hustles just because they weren't really a full-time job. But I would work, I remember when my daughter was in 6th grade, I was working 5 different jobs. I was working 7 days a week, but I was always able to be around. Like for instance, at one point I was working for Frito-Lay on the weekends. And so he was able to watch, he had the kids on the weekends, and eventually, they get older where they can stay by themselves, obviously. But
sure.
And even for people now who just need a side hustle, I was called a detailer, and I would just go in the middle of the afternoon, right in the middle of the Buckeye games, mind you.
Go Bucks. Oh, wait.
I know.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess the I-O.
Yes, I should have did that. Oh.
Yeah. So the salesman would go in the morning, and then what I would have to do was go restock the promotions in the middle of the afternoon. So you can't go at 10 in the morning. He's just left. So I would go at say 2 or 3 in the afternoon and then just restock the promotions. And I remember at one point my salesman, I've actually met him. We wound up at the same wedding one time, and he's like 6'7", and I'm 5'2" on a good day. And he had the boxes just like, and he looked at me and he's like, how are you getting these? I'm like, so
You
I
have to
think,
carry your own step stool.
yeah, right. Yeah. But today, I mean, even if somebody's looking for extra money, just something like that, you can go detail on the weekends because it's
Yeah.
not all day, you're only gone for a couple of hours. And so it would be
Yeah.
Friday evening, and then Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon. So but then that's kind of a steady extra stream of income.
Yes.
Now some jobs that I did that were I was more of an individual where you kind of work for the company, but
Okay.
you're more of an independent. I delivered the Suburban News, which was a paper that we used to get on Wednesdays. And so I had several routes delivering the newspaper.
Okay.
And then I did the ad bags and the This Week. So depending on where people are watching from, it's just that was a weekly bag that you'd put either on a mailbox or on somebody's door.
Yeah.
And then the Suburban News I would throw up on people's porches. So I was getting a lot of exercise, which was good. So
Sure.
yeah. So that was another side hustle. And another side hustle that's, somebody who's just trying to make extra money, say if they do have kids. I mean, my kids are grown now, but I was a crossing guard at one point. And so when you're a crossing guard, you only have to work on school days. So the kids are at school, and then you're working right before and right after school, but you can have your kids in the car with you if they're young.
Yeah. That's that's interesting. I know that around here they have in my town they have crossing guards, but they I don't think that's a paid thing or something that just they hire people to do. They have people that are on like assistance programs and stuff. It's like as a requirement to be on the assistance program, you have to do community, not like community. When I say community service, it sounds like they did something wrong. It's not, but you go be a crossing guard, to help subsidize or help your that extra monies that you're getting. But I want to go back to the paper route thing, because there were so many kids that would be in our age group that when the newspapers were, everybody got a newspaper every day. That's how you got your news. Again, you didn't have the internet, and that was a way for a young kid to have a job. There wouldn't have been a side hustle. It would have been a job. I think when it got to be a side hustle is when it was more of the circulation of the newspapers went down and they weren't delivering to everybody on the street. And so kind of as an adult, I'll use an example. My sister had done that as a side hustle. She delivered newspapers mostly to all of the machines, like the newspaper machines. I don't even know that there are newspaper vending machines in my town anymore.
Oh, wow.
But she would go, every day she'd get the load of paper and she would go to all these locations all over town and fill the newspaper racks. And you got paid by how many papers had been taken from the boxes because they were still the ones, you'd put coins in them. You'd put coins in a box and open it up. And so how much ever money was in there, she would collect that money and that would get, turned in and then you would get that. Well, actually you would keep that money because you had to buy all of the newspapers for your route first.
Okay.
And then, so over time, you got to see how many papers were taken from certain boxes and which days were better and which days were not. And you would buy the newspapers, you would fill it, and you'd get them at a reduced rate a much reduced rate. And then you got to keep all the money that came. So how would you like your paycheck to come in quarters and dimes? Like she just had to bags and then have to go to the bank and turn in all of this change.
Yeah, and that's a lot of pressure. I mean, with what I did, I didn't have that kind of pressure that she had. That I had to know,
But I don't even know that could be a side hustle. I don't know how much paper delivery there is these days because everybody. Well, my folks still get the newspaper, but now they don't even deliver it. It comes in the mail. It comes in the mail like you. So you get whatever. Tuesday's newspaper, or you get like Monday's newspaper on Tuesday, Tuesday's newspaper on Wednesday. So you're not keeping up. You're not being current. Hopefully there wasn't anything that you had to know.
Yeah,
but so you tried grocery delivery. You were doing basically a newspaper route. You were doing what was it? the third thing that you
Frito-Lay on the
yeah,
weekend.
Frito-Lay restocking displays. Okay, where are you going from there?
Mhm. Uh, well, let's see here. I was well, another idea. This is more well, not really a full time because you're only working a couple hours a day. But another thing I did just around my kids, I was a lunch lady at one point. So and
Okay.
then you only have to do that when your kids are at school. So,
Yeah.
when the kids are off, you're off. So that's kind of a nice thing. I guess right now I'm coming at it from an angle of a mom who is trying to, or a dad, that would be at work around their kids.
Exactly, which is a common thing, and one of the things that we try to get to on this show is things that you can do with a time frame that you have, whether it's taking care of a family, whether it is working around another full-time or a W-2 sort of job, is different ideas that you can do in spare time, or maybe you have all day, you're not working a regular job, maybe you don't have a family, you just need money. And what are different things that you could do throughout the week? Might be multiple things. And so these are all like great ideas as far as stuff that you can do, or it gets you thinking. Every idea that we come up with on the show, or that we talk about, it's like, oh, okay, well, there's not paper route or grocery delivery or something like that, but I bet I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
and go from there. So I think it's a common thing, is that people are trying to get the extra money through some source, but be able to do it around whatever their main income source is.
Yes. And not everybody is wired, even now, back a lot of these things I'm talking about, we either didn't have the internet, or the internet was just starting. I mean, you still didn't have most of what we have with the internet today, but not everybody even is wired to sit at home on a computer. So some people, they want to get out, and like I work remote completely now, but some people, that would drive some people nuts,
Yes, exactly.
So
yeah, some people are more physical beings that want to be out there, or there's, you may be a physical person that wants to be out and do stuff. It just so happens that the job that you're doing now requires you to be in front of a computer all day. Now you currently have a full-time job that you work like 8 hours a day on your like a Monday through Friday sort of your standard 9 to 5 sort of job, correct?
Yeah, I work 4 10s and a 5. So I actually I give myself 45 hours. So I allow for like one long lunch break, because I get an hour lunch break every day. But yeah, and I am remote, but this has evolved. That was another thing. I was a contract. The job I have now, I've been with this job 2008 for 27. Let me see, 18. Yeah, 27 years. But the first 12 years though, I was a contractor, because I could work around my kids. So my kids are 38 and 33 right now. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was able to work around them. So there was one point I was working 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. as a contractor at the job I have now. Now I was in a different department. My company has evolved a lot over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, and then it was funny because I would work from 3 to 11, and at that point they were a little bit older, so they could be home sleeping for a few hours. But my goal was to get home in time so we could all watch Price is Right together.
Yes,
and that was the original Price is Right.
Yes, with Bob Barker. Come on,
right.
We used to do that when I would one of my previous jobs that was a regular job. I would be home at lunch, and this was back when I was much younger and I still lived next door at my folks. And that was like during the lunch hour, that was the thing every day, was The Price is Right. And we always did, the showcase showdown at the end. We would watch, and you'd have to like guess. We would all bid on the final showdown, and then we see who's the closest at the end, and who would have won both showcases or whatever. I'm actually pretty good at that. Good at guessing The Price is Right. If I could get a job being a Price is Right showdown guesser, I wonder if that's a thing.
That could be. You could create that side hustle. See,
I could.
The options
There's
are
something
endless.
everywhere. What so currently we were talking about working now. What's your current side hustle that you're working, or side hustles if it's more than one?
Well, I'll go ahead and jump to 2015. At this point, I was an actual employee at the job I'm at now. So I was
Okay.
going to say another idea for people, if you could be a contractor so you can work around your kids, a lot of times that will lead to a full-time job when you're in a different season of life,
I like
So
it. Yes.
by the time, once my kids were older, and then I wanted to start
Yeah.
getting, but I know this for a fact. I would never, ever have the job I have had I not worked my way through as a contractor. There's just no way. There would have
Yeah.
been too much competition, I think. So
Yes.
I was so fortunate. My mom actually retired from the same company. So she actually helped me get that contractor job. So
Okay.
I'm so blessed that I did that. But
Now, I asked that question there, and I feel that maybe I jumped way ahead to current. What were some other things? Did you have other things that you've done over the years that you've worked up to this point, or are we at this point?
yeah, I mean, they were just, I did some direct sales, and so that's actually still a stream of income that I have. But I did different direct sales companies. You're just trying
Okay.
to find anywhere that you can do from home. So that's kind of just a little extra income that I have now, and it's very passive now because people
Okay.
just order on.
Give me an example. What would you say is a direct sale company or direct sale job?
Well, like I did 100 years ago. I don't even think they're around anymore. Christmas Around the World, and I know a lot of resellers sell stuff from House of Lloyd, and
Okay.
Christmas Around
Yes.
the World was in that umbrella. Mary Kay is one, Avon is one, Pampered Chef is
Okay.
really simple. Those kinds of things. But back when I started, the one that it wasn't really considered that. I went door to door, knocking on doors, handing people
Yes.
books. So it really
Ding
wasn't.
dong, Avon lady. That's right. I mean, those were the commercials back then, and those
Yeah.
were a lot of ladies back in the day did all of those types of things. That again, the Avon lady, the Tupperware, selling the Tupperware. We've talked about Mary Kay, and there's always those. What was the one that did all of the home decor stuff?
Home interiors.
Home interiors, yeah. Then even more recently, like the Lulu, wait, not Lululemon, it's
LuLaRoe.
LuLaRoe. The
Yeah.
LuLaRoe stuff, the origami owl, the jewelry stuff. Of course, we talked about Mary Kay, and those are all side hustles and those sorts of businesses and stuff there. I don't even know what some of them are now, but they come and they go, and you come, and it is a way to make extra money on the side if you are fortunate and are able to build that clientele. Not only the clientele, but a lot of those fall under the multi-level marketing things where you not only are selling the product, you're trying to get salespeople underneath you. And if you're fortunate enough to do that, it can be a very lucrative, almost full time at that point. But really considered, a lot of those were considered to be side hustle sort of things. Like back in the day, the Avon lady and the Tupperware and stuff were for ladies that had families. The husband worked the full-time job, was the major breadwinner, and the ladies wanted to help contribute but didn't have the full-time because they were taking care of the children, taking care of the house. And that's not me being sexist or anything. That's just the way that society was. That's the way that it was back then. And those jobs did provide nice incomes for people, or just that little extra boost to help the family and give the ladies something to do when the kids were at school, or when they had those the house chores were taken out. I'm probably all of a sudden sounding like I'm very sexist or something like that. I'm just kind of describing those situations that were back in the day. But so you kind of did that whole thing as well as the Avon and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, they didn't call it I mean, there are Avon men, but they didn't call it I mean, it was mostly women doing that. And,
Yes.
and a lot of times it probably wasn't very profitable, but it did give them an outlet. But for me, I put in the work back then. And so now
Yes.
people just order online. So it's just an extra one. But
Yeah.
you know, unless you're like up there, a lot of times you're not really making as that much.
Very few people drove the pink Cadillac. That's what we'll say, you know, right?
Right.
But you did have those few that did. Now you said that you are still getting some income from some of those things that you did years ago, that you just still have kind of that, you're still technically a salesperson, but they're
People just
finding you
work
now
online.
through the internet, and nowadays they find you through the internet. I assume they're not, you no longer have the catalog that you would deliver to the ladies and they'd mark down all of the items. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I mean, there are still those, and there's still people that do it that way. I do not. It's just customers that I already had, and then they order from me from online, or they just happen to find me. But yeah, that was, but back then, you know, we didn't have the internet. And so you kind of went with what you had and what was available, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm trying to look and see what, I mean, I worked at Hallmark at one point. You know, I was able to do that after, you know, in the evening, you know, after my husband had gotten home. So there were days I would go to the crossing. I would deliver the papers as soon as I got done with the crossing. Then I would go to be a contractor at the job I'm at now, go to the crossing after work, and then I would go work at Hallmark that night. But I was still like, I was around when.
So you're doing like 3 and 4 different jobs, 5 jobs in a day, in the same day. You're doing all these. So some of them, the contract work being your main job, and everything else just kind of being supplemental to, you know, and that, okay, I'm probably going to get myself in trouble saying this, Mary, but that right there is work ethic that is not taught these days.
Oh, it was
and you know, it's, you know, to work that 3 and 4 jobs and stuff. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that before I offend anybody.
No, it was just different back then. You know, it was just different.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have all the online stuff. You know, it was just, these are still things that people could do now for extra money. You can still be a crossing guard. I mean, I was getting paid to be a crossing guard. I wasn't hurling myself out in front of traffic for free. I didn't have to do that. So they did pay me to do that. But yeah, now some of these things probably that I was doing, you know, maybe wouldn't be as practical now. Like, I don't know about delivering papers now. I don't know how thing that is, but some of the things, you know, going and working on the weekend, stocking chips. I mean, we definitely know that people are still out there buying chips or whatever.
Yes, for sure.
I just happen to do it for Frito-Lay, but you know, so lot of
you were telling me before we were recording, one of the things that you do, and it's one of the things I think Corey and I have brought up, is you actually have done like dog walking for people.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Sorry.
Nope. I want to hear about dog walking.
Oh yeah. Well, I was in 2015, I really wanted to concentrate on getting out of debt. And so I thought, what can I do to really increase my income? And some of, you know, I had already started selling off some things that were in my garage. You know, I was, you know, by this time I wasn't married anymore. And so I started selling things. It's like, okay, I was pretty much drowning. And so that's when I started selling things, and then eventually got into reselling. But that's also, it was around that time. Was it around that time I got into dog walking too? It probably was. So a friend of mine said she had signed up with WAG. And so I thought, well, I mean, what would it hurt? You know, I'll go ahead and try. And I remember the first walk I did, I was terrified. I almost canceled. I thought I can't do it. I was worried about some of the leashes are weird. And, you know, if you're just hooking a leash on a collar, but there's all kinds of wild leashes out there, you know. So, but it was really nice because the girl happened to be there. She was just playing basketball, and so she just needed her dog walked, and so and she wound up giving me a tip, and I wound up giving her a hug. It was a perfect first one. But yeah, there were times where I would walk a dog. Now, mind you, this is 2015 and after at this point. I would walk a dog before work. So I start work at 6:30 in the morning. So I'd walk at 6 in the morning, and then I'd walk on lunch, and then I would walk after work. So, we're going back. I mean, I'm well into my 40s by this time.
Okay. So, hey, good exercise though. Right.
It really was. But that was a definite income. I could pretty much walk as many dogs I wanted. WAG would have to send them to me, so they'd have to be available. But I would pretty much accept any dog.
Yeah,
I could.
And that's the part of the WAG is what was interesting to me, and what, again, one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, how do I get my first customer? I don't know. I have this idea, or what do I do? Or I'm going to do this side hustle. And it depends on what you're looking into. Something like this, the dog walking. Like you said, you could have walked as many dogs as you wanted. And there is a service out there called WAG. And I'm sure that there's probably others, different to local areas and stuff. Where you don't have to go out and advertise and market yourself and leave business cards and put up flyers. You get on this app or whatever, say in this instance, it was WAG, and those clients and those customers are going to come to you. You're going to sign up, or WAG's going to say, hey, here's an appointment that's in your area. Do you want to take this? I assume that's how it worked. Do you want to take on this dog walking job? And then I assume, you would do that. Now, what happens like in an instance like that? You get the job from WAG, and you go and you walk this person's dog, maybe every day you do this, of kind of going out on your own at that point and going, hey, rather than paying WAG, how about you just pay me directly? I mean, that's not very ethical. I don't know if that's the right word. But what could that have been an option for you to build your own clientele after working through WAG?
I possibly could have. There were multiple dogs there was one dog I walked 5 days a week for several years. I mean, every month, I knew I was walking that dog. And there was another one I walked every Tuesday for years, and until COVID hit. And then, and then people were home. So I did walk some dogs during that time, but my Tuesday dog went away. I guess they start working from home. Yeah. But you would have to kind of backdoor, like, maybe I could have left a note on their counter. Hey, call me. But the problem is, though, you're insured through WAG, and I wouldn't have wanted to take on that responsibility myself. I think if something would have happened to me, my medical insurance would have covered it. But God forbid what happened to one of the dogs. WAG was insured for the dog. Okay,
which is a good point. Something I hadn't thought about. And I want to reiterate, I wasn't saying, hey, how can you be unethical and go around the outside? It was just like a thought of, is that one of the things we look at is scalability of businesses. Now, of course, if you start your own dog walking business and you've marketed yourself and you went out there, but the insurance is something I would have never thought about. Dog gets off the leash, runs away. Dog's lost. What do you do? How do you compensate that family? Dog runs away and, God forbid, into traffic. That's an issue. Or you get bit, or you're walking the dog and it bites somebody else. So great point that working through one of those services on like that, if you thought about dog walking as a thing, get out there, get some fresh air, get some exercise, maybe going through one of those services is the best way than trying to market yourself.
That would be what I would definitely suggest. I know Rover is another one, but you don't have to market yourself. Now somebody who knows how to do all that and wants to do all that, and with the internet now, obviously there was internet when I was doing WAG, but if they want to do all that, but they would definitely want to be insured, I would say. And even 100% check on me. Sorry, what was that?
I just said 100%. Yeah, you would want something I had not thought of. And that's why, you talk through stuff, you try to think through all of the situations. I just thinking, you go pick up somebody's dog and you walk it and they give you $20 or whatever. I don't know, a dog walking cause. I never thought about the fact that something would go awry in the whole situation, because you're walking a dog. What can happen? Most of the time, if you're walking a dog, it's going to be docile or enough. Or did you ever have any really unruly dogs?
There were only a couple. I did that for several years. I can't remember. Well, probably 5 years. I only had a few that would absolutely not let me put the leash on them. They would growl. They would, I only had a couple where I've texted WAG, and that's another thing. You go through WAG, and you can actually communicate with the owner if you need to as well. But there was no getting the leash on these dogs, but I actually still got paid because I showed up, and I put
that's cool.
Yeah, I put the effort toward. I haven't walked a dog probably for 3 or 4 years now, maybe 3 or 4 years. But at the time, I think you got paid $9 for 20 minutes and $12 for a half an hour. It's probably more now. But if you wore the WAG swag, you got an extra $1. And so I always wore my WAG shirt and put the WAG
some WAG swag.
Yeah, if you wore the WAG swag, and why not for an extra $1, and then they could tip you. Now the lady who I walked her dog 5 days a week for years, she never once tipped me, but I had that steady. I love that dog, and I had that steady. But the people that I did every Tuesday, they tip me every single Tuesday, and most people did tip, but not all of them. But still, I was out in the fresh air getting extra. But I definitely walked through my share of thunderstorms with these dogs. So once I actually hit my goal of getting out of debt, it wasn't quite as appealing.
Exactly. Yes.
Thunderstorms and
which what you had just said there was key and resonated there with me, is when you said, once I got out of debt, is a lot of times people are doing a side hustle or looking for something different to pay off extra bills, to get out of, a debt that they've incurred from whatever situation. Sometimes you just gain debt and it's not entirely your fault. And other times it's like, well, hey, I spent too much. That's my own fault for, used a credit card too much or whatever. But, having those opportunities and those side hustles and being resourceful and getting out there and doing things allowed you to get out of debt. And once you were out of debt, that probably then changed your mindset, I would assume, for what direction you wanted to do. Now you're kind of established in your full-time or your W-2 style job, but you still enjoy doing the side hustles or the extra stuff for extra money. Do you have a particular goal that you're working towards, or just to have a little bit of financial freedom, or just because you enjoy doing something else other than your regular job?
Yeah, it is. I do like to stay busy. So yeah, it evolves as you evolve. Initially my goal was to be able to be there for my kids, so I just worked, and I was probably working more hours, but the hours were conducive to their schedules,
Yes.
So, and then the second, then you go into the second phase of side hustles I had side hustles the whole time, but then I wanted to get out of debt. So now I'm working on retirement, because I had gotten, a little behind on retirement. So now I'm working on retirement. But, and after I did get out of debt, I still walked dogs for a couple years probably, but now I'm more focused on the reselling.
Yes.
But I actually do get, since I did walk so many years, I still get a referral money from WAG every now and then. Just money will just show up.
Okay.
And it's like, where'd that come from? Yeah. So a couple months ago, I think I got $40 just tossed in there, was for 2 referrals. I have no idea where all I can think is maybe they're coming from Pinterest, because I had posted things on Pinterest. I think I'm like the only person in the world that actually posts things on Pinterest, but I've really gotten sales from there before.
Well, that's again, another opportunity to make a little bit of money in a source that sounds like to me most people aren't using. Post something in the Pinterest and here you go. Like say you haven't done it for several years and you got $40 here recently.
Yeah. Just every now and then, $20-$40. Yeah.
So as far as now, so I love that. I love this progression that you were talking about. Early on, it was single mother. You need money. What am I going to do? Can't really work a full-time job because I got to take care of this child. working around. And then it came to you had incurred some debt and you needed to get out of debt. And you used side hustles along with your full-time employment to overcome that debt. And now you're looking towards the future. Now you're looking towards that retirement. And now you're into reselling, which is how I know Mary. From we cross paths through the YouTube reselling space. Lots of people that do this reselling job, and for those of you that are following along, we don't always talk about the reselling, but in its simplest form is you're going out to garage sales, yard sales, thrift stores, estate sales. You're going to like the Goodwill bins. A lot of people buy pallets that are doing that stuff. And you resell that on marketplaces like eBay and Poshmark and Macari and Whatnot and Districts and some of the newer, live selling platforms. And so Mary, she makes videos and she's in that reseller space. And again, we talked in the very beginning, Mike Metco meetups. Mary is one half of that team. And I also met Corey through reselling. And so reselling is an easy way to make money, buy some, because you can start this business with just stuff that's around your house. And you post it up on eBay or one of these other sites, the Macaris, the Poshmarks, all of these. And you sell it for a profit, or you sell it higher. And so that's currently your main side hustle, would I say?
Yeah. The other one are just there's just smaller little pieces of income that come in. But yeah, this is definitely my main side hustle now, because even with the dog walking, once you commit to that walk, you do have to be there at a certain time. And I have to be somewhere at a certain time, 45 hours a week, so now it's kind of nice just to be able to do the reselling when I want. Now there will be times, I told you I work at 6:30, but there are times I'm up until 1 a.m. working on reselling, and then I'm back up at 6:30 working, but that's my choice. I don't have to be working at the gas station or at the grocery store, whatever, until 1 a.m. If I want to go to bed at 9 o'clock, I will. But
exactly.
If I want to reselling, then
yes.
So it's evolved into that.
Yeah, it's a very good way. And I was talking with Corey. I think we might do a show coming up talking a little bit more about reselling for folks that are watching the show, that are looking for that sort of a side hustle, because not everybody watching is from that YouTube reselling community. Some of them may not even know there's channels out there that are about reselling, which is kind of how we all got in the same circle. And it's funny, you meet people and it's stuff. We talked there at the beginning, how we met through this reselling and seeing each other and being in the same chats on live shows and following along with each other's content. And then you find out, oh, Mary actually just lives about an hour down the road, probably not even less, than that. And here's this person that's doing the same thing, probably sourcing in a lot of the same areas that I'm sourcing when I go down that way. And then because of our same interests in music back in the day, that we probably crossed paths at one point. And, now through this, we're just, really, building more of that friendship, more of that relationship through a side hustle, from meeting people with like interests. Now I do this. My job is reselling as a full-time job. It's what I do to sustain me, to keep the lights on and food in my belly and all of that stuff. One would think if you looked at my belly, man, he does really well for himself. But some days you get a grumbly tummy. Maybe you didn't list enough. Maybe you didn't sell enough.
But yeah, doing this full time, that I, like we were talking earlier, we're going to a meetup next week, which Corey's at a meetup right now, but next month, not next week.
Yes.
But I will get vacation time. I will still get paid for my regular job, but the full-time resellers, you can still sell stuff, but you probably have to be on some kind of vacation mode, or
yeah, I'll have to put the store on vacation mode, so that I don't have to ship stuff. I can still sell stuff, but I don't have to ship stuff in that certain amount of time. And what she's talking about is the Nashville meetup, April 25th through the 27th in Nashville. Go to the Nashville meetup page on Facebook. All the details are there. I will actually get to meet Mary in person because I think you are traveling down as well. So that's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm excited about it. I went last year, and shout out to Ray, the Nashville Flipper, who puts in a lot of time and a lot of effort to put on such a good event. So I'm looking forward to that, and to meeting new people that are like-minded, that do the same job that I do, some of them do it as a side hustle, part-time, full-time. You would be considered a part-time reseller, but you probably put in full-time hours on your reselling, I would assume, with, to keep the business going. And this, I've often said that too, is I work more now being self-employed or unemployed for a living than I did when I actually had the regular 9-to-5 job, because you have to keep up on it. Sure, I have the freedoms. I don't have to be at a workplace at a certain time, but I have to put in X amount of hours a day to keep going, to keep, income and money's flowing in. But Mary, so I wanted to ask you a couple of questions here before we wrap up, and of all the different types of side hustles that you've done, what's your favorite side hustle that you've ever done?
I did enjoy the dogs. I'm trying to look at this list. I mean, I really didn't dislike any of it, but I did like the dogs, and you got out in the fresh air and it was good exercise.
Yeah.
But I really do love the reselling. I've really immersed myself in this. How I've immersed myself in reselling is kind of like how I used to immerse myself in the local music. I used to put together concerts and things locally for different military organizations, and I was really immersed in the local music, but I was not getting paid for it. So which was fine. I loved working, helping make money for the military groups and helping support the scene. But this, I'm really immersed in it, but I am also making money, which is somewhat helpful.
Yeah. Oh, always.
So this is, probably between this and the dog walking, but this is, this probably above
the reselling.
Like to do it in my own, in my own time.
There's nothing more exciting than finding an item that either you got for free or that you maybe went to a yard sale and you bought for $1 or $2, and you put it on, and it's like, oh man, this is a $50 item. This is a $100 item. Even if you bought it for $2 and it sells for $25, when you get that sale, that cha-ching that comes through, it's just like, it's just it's so fun, and it's exciting. And being a treasure hunter at heart, just going out and finding the deals. The sourcing is always the fun. If I could I need to be a professional sourcer. That's what I need to do.
I know that.
Of all of the side hustle type of jobs that you've did, which one was the most profitable for you? Whether it would have been because of the longevity that you did it, or which one had you made the most money with, let's just say the most money with the least amount of effort. I don't know if that's a good way to put it.
Gosh, some of the W-2 ones, I really don't remember. I mean, I made a steady income with Frito-Lay every weekend. But if you're really looking for what you'd consider a real side hustle where you're not really a W-2, it would, for WAG, for the amount of time I did it, but then the reselling. So it would definitely be the same answer there. Yeah, I did have consistent income with WAG because I was walking pretty much every day and sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah. Okay. Was there any side hustles over all the years and the things that you did that you were excited about, and you tried them and you were like, I don't like this at all? I need to do something different.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is a definite answer. What do you got?
This was when I was still getting out of debt, and I was just starting to, I was kind of a late bloomer of finding YouTube. I was just
Uh-huh.
starting to watch YouTube, and I was seeing where people were doing merch by Amazon. And I was like,
Okay.
well, you just sit on the computer and you design shirts. You don't need the inventory. Because I think at that time I was still selling my own stuff. I
Gotcha.
wasn't even buying stuff for resale yet. I was just selling off my own stuff.
Yes. Mhm.
Wow, I can just sit here and design a shirt and put it on Amazon and they make it. And whoa,
Yeah.
But then I forgot that I'm not creative, and that would have been really helpful. But
Yes.
I did design a bunch of shirts, and to this day they are still on Amazon. But I'll tell you
Uh-huh.
what, in the last like 4 months, I have sold 5 shirts, and
Really?
I have not designed a shirt for at least 5 years.
So it's something that you tried but it's still coming back
Yeah,
to you.
I make $1.19 a shirt, so I'm trying not to spend that $5 in the same place, But I was just like, Amazon into my bank account. The only thing, Amazon takes money out of my bank account. Amazon didn't put money. Yeah, and
Yes.
what is this? Oh, I'll be darned! I sold a flipping shirt.
That's cool.
But you've done the work, just like with with my
Yeah.
WAG affiliate, my WAG referrals. I've done the work already. So that's when you get into really passive income.
Yes.
Some people kind of call reselling passive income, but I'm not quite sure that I understand that, because you're working at reselling every single day now.
Yeah.
I can see, you've done the work, and then when it sells, you ship it. So I mean, I guess it's passive when it's just sitting on the site, but this is really passive
Yeah.
income. I created those shirts like 5 years ago, and
I don't know that it's passive income in
I
reselling,
wouldn't
because
call
you're working every day to put up new stuff, and I can see where there could be some sort of an argument for it, but um when you put in that effort every day, it doesn't seem passive. That's what I'm doing for my living. So
that.
so you tried doing the design for Amazon merch and selling stuff, and you didn't care for that, but you're still making, hey, $6 every 5 years, that's, you can't beat that. It's better than a stick in your eye, Mary. I've always said that, right?
Yeah, and I've already put the work in. Just leave them up there. It's not like I'm getting charged a fee every month to leave them up there.
Exactly. Yes. So we're gonna get what is there anything like, I noticed you referencing a list of things. Is there anything that you didn't cover that you want to cover, or something that you would want to pass along to folks about doing side hustles?
Well, one thing I would say is, probably don't do one that you hate, because you won't keep up on it. You really, like, I really love reselling. And when I say I've heard somebody call it passive income, I might be thinking of something else, or another form of something else, because there's no way that's passive income. But anyway, you have to really love it, because you won't do it otherwise, just like for me, I have the W-2 job. Well, if I hated reselling, do you think I would log off my computer and then start reselling? No, I wouldn't if I hated it, So you definitely want it to be something you enjoy. And really, all of these things, everything on my list that I named, I really did enjoy. And I actually didn't hate making the designs for Amazon. I'm not very good at it. I'm just not very creative.
And it's something that you tried that you didn't keep up with. It's like, I'm not really going to make a lot of money at this. At $1.19, sure, you have to sell a lot to make it an income. But again, it's an income. And if you dedicate time, if you designed 500 shirts and put them on there, chances are, you're going to do. I don't know how that program works, but that's an interesting. I didn't know that was a thing, actually, that you could do that. So who knows? Maybe I'll spend the rest of my evening designing shirts and putting, hey, I could use $1.19.
Right.
Could buy I could buy virtually nothing with that. I can't even buy the newspaper these days. We talked about delivering newspapers. One day the newspaper didn't come to my folks' house and they went bananas. And they're like, hey, if you're out and about, can you stop and get a newspaper because they didn't deliver ours? And it was like $3 for this newspaper that probably didn't have more than a half a dozen 8 sheets to it. And I'm like, are you serious? And it's like, just get on your phone and get the news, Mom. I don't want to do that because when you get on there, they don't give you the land transfers and they don't give you all of the obituaries and they don't give you all the local stuff. And it's like, all right, well, whatever. Mary, this has been fun. This has been fun. Thanks for hanging out with me, while we were left behind here,
Right.
While everybody else is out having fun at the reseller meetups. Well, I guess in the end, we're home by choice. Maybe if I would have been a better reseller, I would have had the extra funds to go.
Oh,
Maybe if I were to pick up dog poop or put together a screen or, do some, get on Upwork and freelance something, I could have been in a better position to, to go.
Well, putting your store on vacation mode a lot, that's something to think about. I will just really quick, since you mentioned Ray and the Nashville meetup, I will do a shameless plug if you don't care. On the
Certainly.
Mike Metco Meetups YouTube channel, we did interview Ray. So if anybody wants more information about that,
yes,
there are other places to find Ray also, but we did interview the
for
Nashville
sure
on the YouTube channel.
And that is coming up at the end of April. Super excited to be able to meet Mary in person and a bunch of other friends, a bunch of other people that are unemployed for a living. So we're all going to have that in common as well. And all right, I think we are going to be done. Mary, again, much appreciation to you for coming on the show. And I love that. I loved all your reasoning. I said this earlier. I love the fact that you had a reason each time. And I loved how you talked about those different phases of your life that made you do the side hustles in conjunction with a regular W-2 or a regular full-time job, from, needing money to raise and start a family, to getting out of debt, and now looking forward to the retirement, even with a pretty secure, after 27 years being with the same company, which, as we've heard in stories here, on the show, that none of that stuff is guaranteed. Your job seems today to be pretty solid and pretty, like, you could probably retire from there. And then, God forbid, tomorrow the company says, well, this is different now, and you're looking for something new to do. And so you have a wealth of experience of things that you could call upon from, your life history of things that you did out of necessity. And now it's probably a little freeing to be able to do some of these things out of just the sheer want and joy of doing it, and being able to pick something currently, like, say you're into doing the reselling, and who knows, maybe by this time next year, you'll be into something completely different, and, reselling will be off the table, and you'll do something to help build towards that retirement fund. And so very cool. Much appreciated. I loved having you on. It was fun to chat with you. And I'll give you the last word to the folks, which never happens, because I guarantee as soon as you say something, then I'm going to say something at the end. But I'll give you second to last word here on the show, Mary.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for having me on. I was super excited that you guys wanted me on, and we miss Corey, but we hope he's having a great time. Oh.
No, we don't. Shh. No, we don't.
Thank you. I really appreciate you asking me to be on. That was really cool.
For sure.
And it was nice meeting you face to face.
Yes, definitely. We haven't crossed paths other than mostly chats and watching one another's videos and stuff like that. So yeah, very fun. And we're going to wrap it up, and we will catch you next week on Unemployed for a Living.